Now, fellas, today's documentary is about one of my favorite hip hop crews to ever do it. Yes, and this is none other than Camp Mulla. Now, for those that have been hooked into the Kenyan music scene, know Camp Mulla. Camp Mulla is definitely one of the best hip hop crews to ever come out of Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Kenya to be specific. Yes, coming out of the capital Nairobi, they took over the African hip hop scene by a stone. I mean, nobody can deny this. I mean, if you are a Kenyan, I am sure that you've seen Camp Mulla's rise to the top. Yes, this rap group has represented the Kenyan industry at its highest. Yes, now Camp Mulla rose to the top of the game in the years 2010 to 2013. Yes, their rise was short-lived to only 3 years, if I can remember. Yes, although they had been making music as early as 2007, they only came to the limelight in 2009, late 2009 to early 2010s. That's when the radios were playing Camp Mulla's music like crazy. I remember this time being in school. I was a big fan. I was like, who are these kids that have just taken over this industry this way? They were different. They were talking different. They were very, very swagalicious. They had that swag, fashion. And that was the beginning of social media. Instagram had just kicked off. Facebook, I remember just going online and just searching for this kids music. Yes, now Camp Mulla, I first heard their music in 2009. Yes, and I must say I didn't even know they were Kenyan when I first heard their music. I thought these chaps were South Africans, because they were talking in that Americanized English. They were not necessarily twanging, but you can tell these folks were highly educated. Now let's dive deep and know who these chaps were and how they rose into fame and success in a short amount of time. Now let's start with the members. Camp Mulla is made of Miss Karun, who was the lady. We have Shaperman, one of my favorite rappers still. We have Tayo Tripper, we have Marcus, and we have Mikey. Those are 5 members, but only 4 of them make music. Now these chaps were educated, and they all came from a very, very prestigious school in Nairobi. Yes, for those guys that have gone to Hillcrest, I know you've heard of them. These fellas come from the posh neighborhoods of Nairobi. Yes, they are what we considered babis. In Kenya tunawaita mababi. These are rich folks. Now yes, Marcus, Tayo Tripper, and Karun come from Hillcrest, which is one of the best, most expensive high schools, international schools in Nairobi. And this is where they actually met and linked up. And they had been rapping in talent shows, doing ciphers. I remember seeing their ciphers on Facebook back then, and I was wondering, who are these guys spitting bars like this? So here is a video of Miss Karun explaining how she met Camp Mulla and how it started.
So Camp Mulla started when I was in high school now. Kind of right early on, when I had just joined high school. I was probably 13, 14, and somebody that I met in high school, her name was Zara. She became one of my best friends at the time. And she was cousins with Marcus, who was a producer for Camp Mulla. She knew that I loved to sing. I was always singing, always producing in school. And one day she was like, hey, do you want to meet my cousin? I don't even remember what led to this, but her house was right next to the studio where we used to record. So she introduced me to Teo, Shapa, Marcus, who were already making music. They would do cyphers, they would make mixtapes, they had like a weekly thing that they did on Facebook where they would like release music. But they had multiple artists like come in and collaborate with them. Like Camp Mulla wasn't set up at the time, but I think eventually they wanted to take it seriously, and they invited me, and I did a couple songs with them. Like I think it was just one day of just like vibing and hanging out, and we made music. And I remember at the end of it, Teo stopped me and he was like, "Karen, I need to talk to you." Teo can be so serious sometimes. So he took me outside the studio and he's like, "So, us guys wanna do this like for real, like we wanna do this seriously, and we really like what you're doing. Like, okay, it's like perspective, we're like 14 and Teo is being serious like this." So it was kind of comical, but he was like, "Do you wanna be a part of our group? I'm calling it Camp Mulla." Teo came up with the name and I was like, "Yeah, sure." And at that time I didn't really know what that meant. It was just like, cool, let's make music together, sure. And then my mom was actually down. My parents were down and they supported me. And yeah, we continued to hang out in studio, make music together. For the most part, we were just making hip hop. It was kind of like conscious rap. We were making very like, if you look back, our music was pretty alternative, but it was like grounded in hip hop. And then we were playing around with sounds one day. I think Marcus wanted us to play at 6 a.m. Like, it's kind of like a party that used to happen back then. It was house music, electronic music. He was like, "Guys, we want to play. I want us to play at this event. Let's make music that would fit this like kind of nightlife thing that was happening at the time." And so he experimented with house music, and Party Don't Stop was one of the first songs that we made like that. And I mean, we loved it. It was very different from what we were making before. And then everybody loved it. And we ended up on radio, ended up finding somebody who like shot a music video for us. And I think, yeah, the rest is history.
Now you can tell that this folks bond was stronger because that's how most crews start. In Kenya we have the Kolo Nyashinsky Kleptomaniacs crew that also started in high school, and you can tell that at that time crews were starting in high school, even though Kambula is not as early as Kleptomaniacs, but yeah, you can see the relation of the two crews. So to them they were actually like family. They were, meeting up in the same spots, creating music, just having fun. And Miss Karun even said that they started going to the studio and making music for themselves. They were not necessarily making music for the people to hear. No, they were making music just for themselves, maybe to perform in talent shows and so forth. Now let's go back to this year 2009. In 2009, this is when their first album came out, Funky Town. And I must tell you guys, Funky Town was way ahead of its time. 2009, you can tell that these kids were onto something. So this album opened the gates for radio airplay. Before this album, they were just youngings, making music. And now after coming up with this album, they started getting exposure. And they were teens still in high school. When their songs started picking airplay, it was a major step forward for them as far as music is concerned. Because I remember watching their first video, actually not their first video, but one of the first videos released by Camp Mulla in 2010, the song Hold It Down. Man, that video was crazy advanced for that time. They had definitely ahead of their time. The fact that the video was done 10 years ago and still stands out even today, you can tell that it was not it was serious. It was more than fun for them, because I remember watching the video and I could not I thought that this video was done somewhere in South Africa, just by the direction. The director who shot the video, I must give him props. Clarence. Shout out to Clarence from Capital Dream Pictures. I went and saw the behind the scenes of that video shoot, and that is a master at work. That is not just let's grab a camera and go and shoot something on the no. The organizing, how they had to pour water on the ground, on the road, so that it can have that reflecting feature. That's crazy.
But then I gotta go hard. Got my city on my back. If you feel me, holla back. I do it for the 250. We hold it down, we down. You know we holding it down. We hold it down, we down. You know we holding it. We hold it down, we down. You know we holding it down. Hold it down, we down. Yeah.
Holding it. And also remember, fellas, when Camp Mulla was doing it, the music industry had not been structured up as it is today. There was no structures in the industry. The industry was barely walking. It was still crawling. There was no Spotify, there was no Apple Music, streaming had not yet started. So these artists were literally depending on shows to make money, and I don't think it could have sustained them financially. It wasn't making sense, because these guys were spending a lot of money on videos. Bringing Nigerian directors to come and shoot your videos, which is very, very expensive. And also, how many shows are you going to do a year? Like, if it's not a Safaricom show that is very lucrative, there's no other show that is as lucrative as a Safaricom show. So how many of those are you going to do, so that you can make your money? You can say, I'm making a living off music. There's no streaming. People are not buying music, in Kenya at that time. So how else could these folks, make a living? And also remember, at this time, artists were not making money from deals, endorsements were not that popular. Yes, I don't think any other companies would see it fit to give artists endorsements. So I remember Tayo Tipra's interview where he said that so people were showing up with all sorts of promises to them, and trying to confuse them, as these are youngins, as I've said. So when you are coming up and saying that you will give them this and this and this bounces in their heads, and they make some decisions that are not really mature. And also these people, these young chaps, had different priorities also. That could be the other reason why they separated. Others were going back to school, others are seeing this music career, and others are not seeing any sense in making music that is not lucrative. So you can see how this can bring the divide. Yeah, man, fellas, it breaks my heart as a Camp Mulla fan. Like, this was a crew that was doing it how we wanted it to be done, how we saw music was supposed to be done. Camp Mulla was the ones doing it that way, and we were proud as Kenyans that there's a crew out there that is representing, that is carrying our flag high, and imagine when Camp Mulla was coming up, artists like Nasty C, aka, they were not yet, they were, these rappers like Nasty C were actually looking up to Camp Mulla. I remember Nasty C, every time Nasty C was coming to Nairobi, he used to link up with Camp Mulla. In fact, in 2020, Nasty C posted this post, and he was saying that he needs, as a fan, we as fans, we agree with Nasty C when he said we need something from Camp Mulla. We want them to reunite. We want some music for them. We want as fans to come back and enjoy something from Camp Mulla, because these guys, it feels like a wasted talent. because I remember in 2017 they announced a whatever it is, a reuniting tour, or they were going to reunite, but I guess it was only a show. And Miss Karun, as far as music is concerned, I think Miss Karun is the only person that's doing music, and a Sharperman, Marcus, is doing music too, but it's not hitting as it was when they were together. Man, as a Camp Mulla diehard, I would love to see a Camp Mulla reunion, and I feel like they have it in them to bring back the vibes and to bring back the Kenyan name and to carry the flag of this country's music scene up high again. I have no doubt that they are still young enough to do it at that level they were doing it, and I would urge them to put their differences aside, whatever differences it is that they have. I believe everything can be solved. Nothing can't be solved under the sun, and we will bring back the glory of Kenyan music. See you guys on the next one. Peace.